All right, race fans, we are live from the Cedar Lake Speedway. Night number 2, of course, rained out. Sitting here with a couple legends. We'll get to that in just a second. We got Ben Brose from the Built 2 Media podcast. We got myself, Changa, and Bert from the One to Go show. And we are sitting here live with Mr. Rocket himself, Mark Richards. Last night's winner, Turbo Tyler Erb. Last night's runner-up and winner of the PDC a week ago, the Rocket Ship, Brandon Sheppard. Little shout out here maybe to a quick sponsor. I got our cafe in the front side there, and Impact Health, Fastlane Motorsports, East Central Sports. But let's get this party started. Brandon Sheppard, I guess we'll start right here. Not the best start to the race last night, but you were coming at the end. Did you feel like you had a little something for Turbo? And if you would have got close enough, would you have given him a little right side romance for the win?
I don't know. You don't know. In those situations, you're just trying to kind of battle back from. Just trying to battle back from behind as much as you can. You get behind, and the bottom was really good when we took off, and so that's what kind of shuffled me back a few spots there. And then, you just don't know if you're going to be able to get up through there or not. So, once we got to third there, we had a restart, and we were able to get by Hudson on the restart, and then. Trying to figure out a way to catch Turbo, and he was definitely good. He's been good all year, and he's in the XR2 Rocket also, so it's just shows how good the cars are right now.
Yeah, they're really good, and I got to give myself a donkey award for those of you that watch the One to Go show. We'll get to that in a second, but we'll get to Turbo down here. Turbo, you've kind of had the resurgence. I mean, a couple years back, you decided to do the Hell Tour, the Fun Tour, right? And you built a bunch of confidence, won a bunch of races. And just a little while back, you got, I believe, your first six-figure payday over at Mansfield. Talk about that first. What was it like when they announced that, hey, we're making this $100,000 to win? And what was the feeling when you first heard that, and then when you actually got that win? What was that? What did that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, Mansfield was obviously. I think we can all kind of say it was just such a crazy experience. We showed up it'd be no different than last night. It was scheduled to pay $12,000, and they announced it as we're coming to the green that it's going to pay $100,000. So, yeah, that's definitely it's exciting. It was a really good night for us for sure. That was my first $100,000 race, and it was really surreal. You just don't see things like that very often, but. Yeah, it was really good, and just was like a stamp of like, hey, we've been really good, and something paid out and worked out for us really good there. But yeah, just kind of had to pump the brakes and start over. I feel like obviously Mark and them have one of the best teams in the pit area, and that's a lot of what it takes to be good. So I had to back up and punt a couple years ago, and just get my core group of people that I'm around all on the same page, and. Obviously, we got new cars middle of last year, and that's really just kind of helped everybody turn the corner and get back to where we need to be. We were all really good for a long time there, and I'm glad that they come out with the, Mark and them built the other car, because it's just made our life a lot easier, and we don't drive like complete hellions every night now. We can actually ride around in the slick in the middle, so it's really good. And obviously this year we're on World Outlaws again, and just chipping away at it. We race Bobby and Nick every night, and everybody in the Lucas Series when they show up. So it's hard to win these races. Winning 10 of them, 16, 17 of them a year is really, really tough. And, to win a couple here and be in the hunt every night is really what it takes to even cross into that threshold. So, yeah, it's been really good. And, obviously last night was a good night for us, and excited for tomorrow's 100,000, all in one day too. I like that better. I don't like sitting here and not racing and doing half of it. So yeah, tomorrow should be exciting. I feel like everybody sitting here for sure knows kind of where to start and where we need to be, and whoever makes a little bit better decisions and runs a better race probably have a good chance at winning this thing.
Absolutely. So for Turbo, after Fairbury, you said you were tired of being the ball instead of the bat. So does last night's win help you finally get to write the story instead of reacting to it? So are you able to be a little bit more proactive with your approach now as opposed to reactive?
Not really. We race every night the same. Everybody gets frustrated, and when things don't go your way, it's easy to just, point the blame and do this, but at the end of the day, if you do everything right and you put yourself in the position night after night after night, it works out. So, yeah, I mean, I was frustrated from Wednesday, and then obviously me and Shep got together there a little bit, and I know he didn't do it on purpose. I'm not completely delusional. It's just when things lead up and it's like it just keeps building and building, you're like, oh my God, I can't catch a break. And sometimes you just gotta woo-saw and go about it again. And last night's a perfect example. Qualified good. The redraw worked in my favor. Like, all of those things matter. I think if you make me draw the 6 and give Shep the 1, I feel like the story's probably a little bit different in the future. And that's the reality of what we do. We're all so close and everybody's so good that you do need things to fall your way. And as far as being the batter of the ball, obviously you just want to be able to be on offense at all times. You don't want to be in defense mode, and a lot of that leads into making your car as fast as it can be so you're not worried about what's going on behind you or around you. So really it's just you got to look in the mirror and be like, I need to be a little bit better so I'm not in these situations. And last night never was even in that situation, so it was really good. It's just part of racing, and things come in waves, and last night was a good wave for us.
Sure. So I guess my question's for Brandon. So growing up in Illinois, lots of racetracks, and do you feel like that's an advantage to yourself or other drivers, just growing up on that many racetracks in that area of the country in your maturation as a driver?
I think that's, there's plenty of different ways to go about that, honestly. At the end of the day, it's about the experience that you get. It probably doesn't necessarily matter where you're racing at if you're willing to go and get the experience, or have people invest in you enough to get the amount of experience that you need to compete at this level is huge. Between, I'm sure Terbo's same way between our families, and then Mark took a huge chance on me young in my career. So I think it's about the experience more than necessarily being in Illinois. There's great race car drivers all over the country, spread throughout. So yes, we are very fortunate to have some great racetracks in Illinois, but I think the experience is the biggest thing.
So I got one for Mark. So a couple of years back, Longhorn kind of had a little bit of an insurgence, and it's like, man, they're kind of winning the lion's share a couple of years back, and we have our own podcast, and I'm like, I don't know if they're going to get back on top again. I kind of wrote you off. I said, man, you've been domesticated. I think maybe you're going to slow down a little bit. Turns out I was clearly wrong on this one, but that XR2 has been a big deal. What's it feel like? I mean, did you ever kind of have that time where you're like, man, the confidence ain't quite there? Or did you feel like we just got to reshuffle and we're going to be right back on top where we were?
We've battled this thing from the start. We've always had years that getting started, we were up against different companies like GRT and Masterbuilt at the time, back in those days. You're going to go through that, and just don't give up. So we didn't give up. I mean, there's people that kind of gave up on us, but I kind of knew that if I could keep everything together and everybody goes a different direction, once we get headed in the direction we need to go, I feel like it's a big advantage for the guys that stuck it out. And like last night, Candide, he won the soda show, and I don't know that there was another rocket car in that race. And in the race that we were in last night, there was 4 rocket cars. There were 19. There was like 19 of our competitors in that race, and these guys right now are in a little bit different situation where they have an advantage. I feel like that the work we've done and the people that we have connections to and everything right now is a big advantage for all of us.
Seems like the 60 car's awfully close, too. He was really quick, kind of got himself right inside the top 5, had a little hiccup there. Things didn't quite work out, but seems like the speed's there. You see Dan Evert, kind of a local guy to this area. Are you seeing him maybe turn the corner speed-wise and maybe just about ready to make that next step and maybe compete for some podiums and wins?
Well, this thing takes a while with the experience, and Dan's getting the experience, and the results will start showing up. His car's really fast, and quick story about both of these guys. You know, when they first came along, I first met Brandon right here at Cedar Lake. And it was the first time I ever talked to him in 2011. 2011, Josh won the race. And I talked to Brandon. I said, hey, would you like to drive our car next year? Because Josh is going to go off pavement racing. And I thought Brandon was ready to go. And that was my lesson in experience. And, you know, Brandon came on board in 2012, and I thought, man, this will be easy. He's winning races in Illinois and out on the Hell Tour and all that stuff. The difference was he hadn't raced all over the country yet. And with Dan, he's learning that. And, you know, I took Brandon to Pennsylvania, and he knows I can say this. People said, are you sure this guy can drive? And I said, yeah, I'm sure he can drive. And, you know, it takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of time to get drivers experience. You know, just because a guy's good in one area, that's not going to cut it at this level. This level here, you go to Pennsylvania and the tracks are 4 times as big as Cedar Lake. And then you go to West Virginia and the tracks are dirty and dusty. And then you go to Illinois where Brandon was really good, and, you know, he was really good on those little quarter-mile bull rings and the black dirt and all that. So not only the size of the shape of the track, but you have dirt and all that stuff that plays into effect. And then Tyler came along. He was young when he first came to me. I wasn't sure we was going to get him under control, but he was tearing a lot of stuff up, and he was learning the same thing that Brandon had to learn, that there's different racetracks, there's different types of dirt, there's different ways you race. The good thing about both of these guys, they came along in an era where Terbo had to learn respect because he had some guys mad. I seen him roll himself and another guy over in the same race at the same time, which is hard to do. One rolled to the right and one rolled to the left. Now, that's hard to do. But anyhow, you know, I think these guys today, you know, they've learned to race the way that some of the older guys like Moyer and Bloomquist, they got to race with those guys. And those guys raced with respect, you know. Just wish today there was a little more of that.
All right, my question's for Turbo. You referenced this in Victory Lane last night, your incident a few years ago with Bobby Pierce, and how it felt good to get to Victory Lane last night. How difficult was it to come race the immediate years after that? And do you think after last night's performance you can finally turn the page from that, or have you already turned the page?
Yeah, I mean, I was over it, but it's no different than what Mark said. You look at the people that are the most successful in what we do, and there's not very many of them that have, you know, passed into the next level of, like, man, they're one of the best of all time without, you know, going through that process, and they don't win races doing crazy stuff like that. I mean, it happens here and there, but to be consistent and, you know, up front week in and week out and have good cars and continue to have cars for years to come, you have to, for me, I had to be like, man, I can't survive like this. It's not going to work out for me in the long run if everybody here wants to, you know, kill me. So, yeah, it was coming back, it wasn't an issue, obviously. I mean, I raced with Bobby 700 times since then, and it was just it's a learning process, and I've learned things the hard way most of my life, and yeah, you have to take it and kind of look at it for what it is. And a lot of the times I've tried to tell myself, like, look in the mirror. Mark has a 30-minute rule, I have like a 3-day rule, but it's the truth. You need to, like, back up and punt and say, okay, like, how did I get in this situation? Why am I here? You know, you can't always just blame everybody else for what happens. So, yeah, last night was it was a really good feeling because I have had really good runs here. I've started on the pole this race a couple times, and one year Mark was even mad at me because I drove in the fence lap 1, and I think me and Sheppy drove all the way to about 17th, leaving turn 2, you know, in one of the races here. So it's just, yeah, last night was a kind of like a turn the page. Every day you feel like you got to do better and be better. So last night I feel like was a perfect example of that. Just came in, you know, nothing crazy happened. Got to win, and we live to fight another day. So that's definitely a big step. And I've never won here, so that was cool. I've been like, yeah, I have speed, but I've never won. And once you win at a place, you definitely have a different pep in your step the next day because you know that you can do it. You've achieved it, and now it's like, okay, I can do it, so I need to continue to do it. So yeah, it was really cool.
My question for you, Sheppy, is you became one of the hottest drivers again here in the last couple of weeks. Is that a confidence thing? Is your car that much better? What do you attribute to the goings-on and the success of your team as of late, you behind the wheel?
I think it's just a combination of everything, honestly. The team's clicking really well. When I come back to Mark last year, we knew it was going to take a little bit of time because everybody drives a little bit different, and Hudson and McCready both had a little bit different feel for what they were looking for, and we went through it all last year trying to get the feel that I was looking for back. And once we got that, we were able to build the confidence throughout last year, and then going, in the off season over the winter, I told Mark, I'm like, there's no reason why we're not going to be, up front every night this year. I mean, we knew we had a good car at the end of last year, and really since Mark built the XR2. So, I think it's a combination of, we all gained confidence in the car, and then we gained confidence in each other, and everything just started clicking. And, me and Mark's communication is really thriving right now as far as like what I'm needing out of the car and what I'm telling him compared to what he's doing. So that goes a long ways for sure. Having somebody that can kind of take what you're saying and what they're seeing and put all the right things on the car night in and night out is difficult. So, and then of course the team behind us, they're awesome to say the least. You know what I mean? They all know their roles, and they get the job done day in and day out. And Mark doesn't even have to tell them anything. They just know what's going on, and I feel like it's part of a kind of a lead by example thing. They see Mark get up and work his tail off every day, so they do the same.
Leads into my question for you, Mark. You've been obviously doing this a long time, since 1991, 200 nights a year on the road. Well, I know longer than that, but 200 nights a year average on the road. Stuff like this happens. You become the hottest team owner in the country, one of the hottest chassis builder in the country. Now, going into tomorrow, with everything that seems to be clicking with your cars and your guys and all that, how's your confidence level, and what can you attribute to the success that you guys have been having so far?
It's been, we have no problem with the confidence level. People think that they wrote us off because we've been doing it for so long and all that. But the fire's still there. It's what we want to do. It's what I get up every day for. And to do this 200 nights a year, you've got to have fire to get up and go. And, I got a crew right now that keeps me going. If I didn't have them guys, it probably would be harder. But, we've got a really good crew. They make it easy for me to where I don't have to do as much. Danny's the crew chief, and he kind of handles just about all the stuff that I used to handle. And then Austin, he specializes in tires and the body work and all that, which the body work I used to do, so that left me out of that area. And then we have a guy named Joel, and Joel does anything that needs to be done as far as whether Dan needs help, Austin needs help, or I need help. So it's came together. These guys have been together since 2017 when Brandon came on full time in 17, and it's the longest running crew that's been together ever in a pit area in late model racing that I know of. That the whole crew has been together. So that makes it easy for me. They want to do it. They're settled where we are. They've all got their families and housing and all that right there close, so we have stability in that department. So as long as I can still get up every day and still keep going. And someone asked me last night, how long are you going to do it? And I said, I'm going to do it probably until I go in the ground, because I don't know what else I'm going to do. So, and I can't, I really got to be doing something. So I might as well do what, you know, we love doing and we enjoy doing. And like I said, the resources and everything we have, there's no reason that we couldn't get back on top. One of the things that, you know, there's, I guess you call it presumption or whatever, people gets the idea that you know, they got to go do something because everybody else is doing it. You know, that's not necessarily the case, you know, because I've been in the situation where we've had 20 out of 24 cars in the field. The problem is when you get to that, there's people that's got to run 20th and 24th. Those people are not happy.
Right. Yeah.
So you know, I don't know if I ever want it back like that, because it's too much stress and the infrastructure it takes to keep everybody happy is more than you really. I don't care who you are. You can't do it in this sport. No matter how much somebody wants to talk about, they can do it. You can't make everybody happy.
Right.
And there's 48 cars here. Last night, if you got the 75% of the field, you can figure out pretty quick what that is. Not everybody could have been happy last night, you know. So it's tough. This is a tough business to keep, you know, everything even keel. But like I said, with the resources we have right now, it's making it a lot easier, even for me, to do what we're doing.
So Turbo, I got one for you, and then I'm going to follow up with Sheppy here. So you're kind of turning that corner in your career. You've been competitive, you've had flashes, you've won races, but now you're really on the map on the National Touring Series. You're third in points. You've been running really, really good. What is your number one motivating factor right now, each and every day?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I got a kid on the way. I'm just growing up, I guess. I don't know. You just get to a point. I mean, we all do this. We all start, me, Chevy, Mark, we probably all started the same way. We're like, this is really cool and this is what we want to do. And then you do that for so long and you realize, like, okay, where do I want to fall in all this? Do I just want to be somebody that's there? Do I want to be a leader? Do I want to be just one of the guys? And I don't know. I've always, you know, strove to be the best I can be, but it's just, you don't know what you're capable of till you continuously do it. And yeah, I don't know, a couple years ago I just kind of was realizing that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and I feel like I have a lot of what it takes to be that person. You have to have a mindset, you have to have the work ethic, you have to have all that stuff. And you know, when I first started racing, I parked around Mark just because I didn't know how to race. If you don't know what you're doing, what I've always learned is you get around people you think know what they're doing, and you see it, and you try to mimic what they do to the best of your ability, and then take your own spin on it. So, yeah, I just, I don't know, I just got to grow up, and that's really what's happening. Just, you know, I have no problem working sun up to sun down, but at the end of the day, if you want to, me, like, I want to have a family, and I want to be successful at what I'm doing, and I don't want to spend all my time doing dumb stuff that's preventable, or, you know, I don't want to knock the rear clip off this car and have to sit in Chinston all week just because I was trying to prove a point. It's not going to get you very far. So, yeah, I've lived that, and it's not fun. You know, you do it and you come through it, and you can always get through stuff, but it's just like, man, this is not the way to go about this. So, yeah, just testament to everything. And Eric Brock has put a lot of faith in me. Obviously, Shep was there, Josh was there, and, you know, he got to see someone that was a little more polished before I got there. So then he's definitely helped me be just a better human being in general, and, you know, be realistic about what you want to be and what it takes to be successful in anything you're doing. So, yeah, just having a lot of good people around me and sticking to the program and not getting far off of, you know, the beaten path is really what I've been trying to do. And, you know, it seems to be getting better and better every day, and that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely. And Sheppy, you've been at the pinnacle. I mean, you've won a lot of races, and you had a couple years there where it's like you're good, but you're not Sheppy good, right? And now, what motivates you? You've been there, done that, you know, and did you kind of have that little low where was confidence ever down? And what's motivating you today?
I mean, I think that confidence is definitely a key player in racing a lot of times. I never felt like my confidence was like way down, but you know, there was definitely points where you're like, well, and you know, what are we doing? You know, at the end of the day, it's just like Terbo said. It's something that I'm a fourth generation racer, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And you know, at this point, I think whether I wanted to do it or not, I didn't have much choice. But luckily, I do want to do it, and you know, I want to do it to the best of my ability, like Tyler said also. And to do that, you see the amount of work and effort that it takes to be on top. And you know, driving for Mark was an eye-opener for me when I was so young, coming in and seeing how they operated compared to how my family-owned team operated at the time, which was nowhere near the way Mark did. So just the way they take care of everything and the way that they're just the quality of everything and the class that they show night in and night out, and their cleanliness is, you know, something that you got to learn and start from the bottom, and that all plays into being, you know, long-term successful, and just, like I said, putting yourself around the right people and around good people that want you to be successful also. And, you know, me and Tyler, I feel like we've both been fortunate in those ways, whether it be with our parents or with Mark, or, you know, best performance, even like he said. And, yeah, putting yourself around the right people and just making the most out of the opportunities that you're given.
Awesome.
So I get my questions for Mark. We had the opportunity yesterday to talk with another young driver, Trey Mills, and he was talking about how this year on tour for him is kind of going to be more than likely a one-off unless he can find a ride with another team potentially. I guess my question would be, how do we keep enough car owners involved in the sport to be able to keep two full-time national series going? And what can these drivers do to better make themselves marketable for these teams?
Well, I think that's going to be a big question for the future as far as the cost goes and everything like that. You know, in 2016, Josh won 27 races out of 63 starts, which was pretty incredible, and we took in $700,000. Well, back then our overhead was only like $350. Now we're racing 100 races, and our overhead is like $750 to $1 million to race one of these teams. So you can look at it and say, well, if you win $1 million, you covered it. No, you only covered half of it, because the driver and the crew gets half the money. So the car owner has to be able to overcome the difference between what you take in and what it costs you. And that's where it's gotten a little bit out of proportion from what it was a little over 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we could make it happen. Our overhead was $350. We took in $700,000. The driver and the crew got half of it. The car owner got it all covered. And you have sponsorship money that plays into it. And right now, without the sponsorship money, I wouldn't even think about doing it. So unless you're a car owner that's ready to, you know, lose $500,000 to $1 million. I know a car owner last year that put $500,000 in, and he had one of the winningest cars in the country, and it cost him $500,000. Even for me, it cost me probably close to $250,000 last year with my sponsorship money. So finding people that's willing to have a hobby or whatever you want to call this at that level with the car owner, you know, that's going to be a question. As far as the drivers go, getting the experience is the big thing, because the experience costs money. And when Brandon came in 2012, a friend of mine, Ed Petroff, said, I think this Sheppard kid's going to be good. We had many talks about him. And Ed said, look, when Josh was going to go run pavement, he said, let's try him, because he was supporting me, Ed was. And if it wouldn't have been for Ed, I probably wouldn't have tried it with Brandon. So it's got to be somebody that has somebody behind them that's willing to invest in them to help the team owner or whatever. But there's a lot of good drivers out here. They just don't have that experience, of being at a track 3 or 4 times, like coming to Cedar Lake 3 or 4 years, going to Port Royal 3 or 4 years in a row. When Brandon left in 22, at the end of 22, I looked at it and I said, Hudson O'Neill's the guy, because Hudson had been on the road for 7 years. Somebody had paid those bills for Hudson to be out there. And Hudson, he has the experience. He's very capable, and he's one of the top drivers in the country. He's very capable of doing this. And it's not as easy as just saying, hey, this guy won some local races or he won some regional races, he's ready to go national racing. That's not the case. The team has got to make money, or it can't survive, unless somebody's really got money to dump into it. And there's guys out there that are getting the experience. Hopefully they'll get enough. But most of the time, if they're not with somebody that can get them the right experience, obviously a guy like Bob Pierce, he's given Bobby a lot of good experience for Bobby to take advantage of. That's the Bob and Bobby show, as far as I'm concerned. Bob Pierce has as much to do with it as Bobby. Bobby's an incredible driver, but his dad had the experience, been there, done that for many, many years. And I feel like myself, I've done it, with different drivers over the year. And then when Josh came along, that was my incentive to push him. Josh got thrown to the wolves. He was one of the guys that basically 6 races into it was World of Outlaw Racing. So it was a little different. I remember coming here in 2005, and Josh had been racing for about a year, and he almost won this thing, the USA 100. He was passing Dale on the lap 95, and the rear axle tube broke. But he had experience in a different way. Josh was with me all them years that we came. And a quick story about that night, he was driving the hell out of his car. He started 15th, and he got to 2nd. He was passing Dale. And when the race was over, I said, how in the hell do you know how to drive that car like that? And he said, well, Davey Johnson had won in my car here in 2000, and Josh was running around the pits with me. And he said, I just drove it like Davey did. So he had experience. It was just in a different way. It wasn't so much in the seat, but he had been there and watched that and was very observant and learned. And he had a chance to go to all the tracks across the country that a lot of these young guys don't get a chance to do.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank all 3 of you for your time. We know your time is very valuable. I'd like to get some final thoughts from you guys heading into tomorrow. We know it's a big-time crown jewel. We know you all want it. We got a couple of hottest drivers in the country. And we got, I imagine, a father figure here to both of you guys. So we'll start with Terbo. Heading into tomorrow, you got the confidence already. Seemed like you got Cedar Lake Speedway figured out, at least last night anyway. The rain may throw a curveball at you. Let's go tomorrow. Where are you at? How are you feeling about it? And take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, the rain is kind of just a part of Cedar Lake. It either rains or Saturday. We always, in times past, like they said yesterday, I've been coming here for 10 years, and it touches on what he says. The first 3 or 4 were not pretty, and I've been in the Saturday night race here, I don't know, 8 times, 10 times, whatever, and tomorrow, I'm like, okay, well, this is what worked yesterday, so if there's similarities, hey, we can start there. And as a whole, when your car is good, which we have that right now, you don't have to get far off the beaten path night to night to night. I feel like, our baseline setup's really good, and that's just something that you can always lean on that. So it's the same old song and dance. You got to get qualified good. You got to run up front in the heat race and make it as easy on yourself as possible, because in 100 laps, anybody can win. That's the common fact. Normally, the fastest car does win a 100-lap race. So it's just a matter of putting yourself in the right position and being there at the end of 100 laps. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Really excited about it, and just get some sleep tonight and try again tomorrow.
Mark?
Yeah, it's a little bit of circumstantial. It'll depend on pill draw. It'll depend on, when you go out to qualify and all that, whether you're in you got yourself in the right position, because the track could slow down. Maybe it won't, but hopefully it doesn't. And then you got the pill draw like we had last night, that's the circumstances that could dictate how the outcome is. But, we feel good. Like Terbo says, we got a baseline set up right now that we didn't have, a year ago. Now we have a baseline setup for this car because we have enough experience with it now that we have a good sound baseline that we can build off of.
Sheppy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what both of them said. As far as our stuff goes, my confidence is as high as it can be with our race car right now. So I feel really good about it. Definitely, like Mark said, a lot of variables go into night in and night out. And, at the end of the day, if it's our day, it's our day. If it's not, it's not.
I don't think you can say it any better. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much for coming over today, participating in our show. We wholeheartedly appreciate it. Those of you watching on the One to Go show right now, we are going to be back here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to thank our sponsors, QualityFreightRate.com, and we'll be right back. So stick with us.
Freight is the backbone of the country, and as long as people need goods, they're going to need somebody to get it to them. My name is Matt Bowl with QualityFreightRate.com, powered by T-Force Worldwide. We provide LTL, truckload, and expedited freight services across this country. If your freight weighs over 120 pounds going over 120 miles, that's where my shipping rates kick in. We help companies ship easier for less. With our system, our customers are able to quote and book shipments with ease 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're having trouble with damages, lost freight, claims of any sort, we can help you with our experience, solve the problem, tell you why it's happening and what you should do to prevent it in the future. Me and my team have been together for over 20 years. We know this industry. We can help all size business, big or small. We love them all, but we have a special spot for small business. Small businesses are pillars in the community. Low rates are critical for a small business because the margins are generally pretty small. They need to have competitive rates. They can't be getting gouged or they lose the sale. Freight is simple. People make it difficult. We work as consultants in the industry, so it doesn't matter what your problem is, we'll solve it. We educate the customers, we solve problems, and we lower their shipping rates. And that's what I've been doing for 20 plus years.
Welcome back to the arena of the Sandbox here at Cedar Lake Speedway. From your left to my left to my right, that is Chonga Don at the end, Bert Lehman. Of course, you all know Ryan Aho. My name is Ben Brose. Thank you so much for tuning in here with us on this Friday night. Unfortunately, boys, Mother Nature sucks. They should outlaw rain. I've said this for at least 20 years. It should rain from the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, but now, tomorrow, we're in for a treat.
Well, it's going to be a long day tomorrow, right? I would have been perfectly okay with the rain stopping around noon.
Yeah.
And we might have had some character in the racetrack. It might have thrown some curveballs, but hey, it is what it is. We're in the Sandbox. They had a really cool, beanbag tournament here. Tons of people. So, the culture here, it's not just racing at the USA Nationals, right? People are camping, they're drinking beer. Some of them maybe a little bit too much because of the rain out, but hey, it is what it is. That's all part of the game. But people are finding things to do. The camaraderie is great, but tomorrow is going to be excellent. But should we get into last night's event just a little bit?
Hold on.
Before we get into tomorrow's stuff, I want Josh, if you could come up here. If anybody wants to join in, we have a happy birthday celebration for Mr. Ryan Aho. Does anybody want to come up and sing with us?
Leader of the One to Go show, your four-time Wasota national champion in the super stock division, and Wissota President's favorite human being right now.
Yeah, we're tight. We're pals. You know, actually, I am friends with him. I got to throw him under the bus once in a while, but.
Are there enough candles on there?
Well, I just turned 25, right? I just turned 25.
Okay, Ben.
Thanks a lot,
start
Dennis.
us off,
All
right?
right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear 71A. Happy birthday to you.
All right. Thanks a lot, boys. I appreciate it.
Make your wish. Blow them out.
Oh, boy. You know, when you get a little bit old, you run out of air. Everybody thought I was full of hot air. Clearly not enough, right? There we go. All right. So, for anybody wondering, this must be sugar-free, I'm guessing. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot, boys. It's kind of cool coming down here to the USA Nationals. Celebrated the birthday last year. Celebrated this year. I think this will be a tradition moving forward. Well, next year it's a week later. It is, yeah. PDC next year on my birthday. You know, that's not such a bad show either. It was pretty profitable for the old 71A this year. But, you know, let's get into last night's event, right? Great racing throughout. A couple curveballs, a little bit of drama. You know, let's talk the local late models, the Cedar Lake late models first. And we'll work from Chonga down this way. Just give us your takes. Obviously, we know Pat Dorr won, Ashley second, Nick Panitsky got third. You know, cream rises to the top. But give us your takes. What stood out to you from last night's Cedar Lake late models?
Well, we talked about it on our, I guess it would have been Wednesday night show about how long is it going to take for Steve Arpin to get comfortable in a car, right? Well, Steve Arpin went out there, so in the heat race, right? Had to run a B main. Started up front in the B main, led every lap. Kind of looked like a race car driver again. Didn't take real long for him to get, looking good up front there. So, congratulations, Steve. I think for me, Nick Panitsky started 14th on the field, and I know because I had him in our draw, right? And he got me into the money, getting a podium, third place finish. Pat Dorr, what did we decide? He's, 60-ish, 61, 29, something like that?
I think he's like 50. I'm not sure. I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah, smooth as silk up there, and Ashley's a tough customer, and Pat did a whale of a job holding them off. So, all in all, great race. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, like I said, or like you guys have said, Cedar Lake Speedway, Pat Dorr, and Victory Lane. And always a interesting interview with Pat Dorr after his feature wins. But some of the things for me were, just to show how tough the competition is. Sammy Mars, he was deep in the field. Jake Radetzky had to go through a B to get into the feature. And so it just shows the type of competition that's here for not only the national, but the local late models.
The youngsters are something. Brett Schaefer's a racer that I picked in the draft, and he showed some speed. I think he ended up 13th, which was a pretty solid run at the USA Nationals. And a couple little mistakes that he made throughout the race, lost a few spots, gained them back. But that kid's kind of fun to watch. We don't talk about him much on the One to Go show, but I remember coming down last year. Brett Schaefer was pretty impressive last year, and I'm looking for him to maybe make some noise tomorrow night.
Taking a look at the results right now, and Pat Dorr, nobody gets around this place better than Pat, right? Ashley Anderson, though, holy cow. Pat had all he could do to hold off the 81 ride. The man I was watching all night last night in the regional local late models is that 27 Jake Radetzky, plus 10. Coming through B last night, he seems to be driving a little bit more determined than we've seen him maybe recently. But I'm looking for big results out of the Team 27 come tomorrow night. I think the local late models, CLS late models, I think they might steal the show. They might steal the show tomorrow night. Should be fun to watch.
The last name Radetzky has won a lot of races here at the Cedar Lake Speedway. It doesn't matter if it's Jerry, Jesse, or Jake. Right. They've all been really good here for sure. Let's roll over into the World of Outlaw portion, starting from left to right. As we know, right, your winner last night, Chonga?
Our winner last night was the Rocket Chassis, a Turbo, right? He held off a hard-charging Brandon Sheppard, and Shep looked like he got a horrible start, and he got shuffled back to like 9th, and it was just a short 30-lap race. He looks like he's the class of the field when we're going to stretch this to 100 laps tomorrow. If I were a betting man, my money'd be on Sheppard.
You're not taking your boy to win?
Well, my boy,
Wow.
So my boy is definitely, that's where the heart is. But if there's a cushion, if it's a clean racetrack with a cushion, nobody's going to beat that guy. But the last handful of times they've been here now, or 5 races, 4 races, it's been sandy, marbly. There wasn't a big cushion up there, and that's where he tends to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Pierce is one of the top drivers in the country right now, and it was surprising to see that he couldn't advance in the feature. And he got into the feature with a little bit of controversy in his heat race on the last lap, and
which was awesome.
In your opinion. But it was good to see Terbo win last night.
Yes, it was.
After everything he's gone through at this track, it was good to see him in victory lane.
I kind of like the Bobby Pierce move last night, right? I mean, I like Tanner English, but you're racing to win. Bobby Pierce had the mantra his whole career, I don't need friends, I brought my own with me. He's trying to get in the show, right side romance. Would he have complained if the shoe was on the other foot? Yeah, he's a racer. Of course he would have. We all would have done the same thing. But he's the point leader. The door opened just slightly, and he made sure it wasn't closing. He kicked it wide open. And the fact is, that's good for racing, because what were people talking about all night and all day today? Bobby Pierce and Tanner English. Got to have it.
Okay, I don't necessarily have a problem with what you just said. My problem is the fact that he had to make excuses in his interview for it. Well, they watered the track right before the heat race, so I think Tanner got into some of that, and then how he said Tanner came down and tried to block him and all that. If he went for the win, just say, I went for the win.
Well, there's some truth to that, too, but he wasn't wrong with his statement. I mean, that sucks as a race car driver. You set a car up for a racetrack, you're prepared for one thing, and then, oh, shit, here comes the water truck. Are you kidding me? This is awful. And it sucks. It makes for bad racing.
Well, Bert, what you don't understand, you've never been a race car driver, okay? So in the How to Be a Race Car Driver handbook, page 13, section C, subsection D.
That's actually subsection 4 now. That was changed.
They changed it,
it in 2026.
It is never your fault. It is always somebody else's fault. That is a rule. I don't know. You must not have read it. I don't know what to tell you.
Is that one of the unwritten rules?
No, I think it's written.
No, that's actually written. Gentlemen, we said it yesterday. We talked to this guy yesterday. The future is bright. The future is now Trey Mills, 15th to 6th. He belongs. He belongs on the World of Outlaws. He belongs out here. That kid is going to be something. I might change my pick for tomorrow for Trey Mills to be my dark horse pick. I mean, the way that kid looks out there is phenomenal. But we just talked to 2 out of the 3 guys that are going to be in the field tomorrow night. I'm telling you what, man, those Rockets, they are, as you would say, not slow.
100%. But I want to get back to Trey Mills, right? Because Mark Richards mentioned that you're looking for somebody that has that experience. This kid's 18 years old. He hasn't traveled all over the country, and he's still competing at a high level. And very respectful, well-spoken. We had an opportunity to speak with him yesterday. And one thing that caught me is he mentioned that he's on a family-owned team right now, and their budget is essentially for 1 year. And that's it. So if nobody picks him up, he's going to be a regional racer next year. So hopefully somebody does. But I didn't want to ask Mark that because I don't want to have him giving too much love to the competition, right? But the fact is, that kid is extremely talented. And if somebody out there's got a deep pocketbook, James Trantina, you might want to give Trey Mills a call. All right?
Well, he'd make a good teammate with Dan Ebert.
He would. Sure. They're both really humble.
And to go along with that, Mark Richards talked about, drivers need experience. Not, they get the regional experience, but then they need to get that national experience on all these different tracks. And Trey talked about this yesterday. He had never been to Cedar Lake before. Right. So to perform the way he did, never seen the track in person until yesterday. It's quite an accomplishment.
I think he's got 28 wins at the Cedar Lake Speedway on iRacing, though, so that might have helped. I'm not really sure.
No, keep in mind, then 28 wins, and this came out of Turbo's mouth here on an interview a while back, but, like Brent Larson's got a ton of wins here, and Turbo called him in a bang banger, right? So, I don't know if bang banger is the same thing as iRacing because, Trey told us, Devin don't race with me, and, the guys I'm racing with aren't them guys. So I don't even know how that experience qualifies.
Well, I'll leave that one alone. But Brent Larson had a rough go of it last night. He qualified well. I think he was supposed to start outside row number 2 in the heat race, and of course expired a motor or something happened to the engine, had to start deep in the field, and he worked his way up in every race he was in. Last year at this race, Brent Larson had some speed as well. The locals all kind of had some speed. Jake Tim was pretty solid last night. Dan Ebert was really fast until whatever happened coming off turn 4, an unfortunate situation. But Sorensen kind of had a little hiccup there as well. Not sure what happened there, but I think the locals could be impressive tomorrow night. I'm going to give you guys a question here. Should we expect to see 1, 2, or more locals in the top 10 tomorrow night in the A main?
I'm with you. I really, really thought that Jake Tim looked really good last night. Now, different animal going into a 100 lapper. I mean, out of them guys, I think Leighton, the rocket chassis of Dan Ebert. I think there's a guy if things fall right. I think he could get a top 10.
Yeah, I'll say one local racer will get a top 10.
Bert just doesn't like locals.
Yeah,
all right. I'm gonna go 2. I'll take 2. I'm gonna take two of our local area drivers top 10 in the World of Outlaws tomorrow night.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I'm gonna think 2. To pick who the 2 are gonna be, though, we just can't do it, right? We can't do it until really once we see the lineup,
right?
For tomorrow night, because like for us, we could say, for example, Bert's favorite driver, Nick Anvelink, we could say, yeah, Nick is going to be in the top 10 tomorrow night. One would think if everything goes right, yeah, he's definitely capable of being able to get in the top 10 tomorrow night. Marshalltown, Iowa, would you consider that local?
I would not consider the Reaper to be a local. No,
Okay.
No.
Right.
But I would say he's a threat to be in the top 10 as your defending race winner, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dan Ebert, though, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at him to really make some noise tomorrow night.
He was quick last year, too, and I don't remember what happened, but he had a flat tire or something happened last year as well. So it's 2 years in a row. That 60 car has showed speed at this race. I think out of all those drivers, I'm expecting him to have the highest finish tomorrow night. I think he's due.
Even though he performed probably the worst of the local drivers last night, I'm going to go with Dustin Sorensen to finish in the top 10. I still say he would have won that race a few years ago that was shortened to just over 50 laps because of rain, because he was coming and he was challenging Pierce for the lead in that race.
You're going to hurt Chonga's feelings with all this Pierce slander here, so you might need to relax just a little bit.
That comment Bert made is slander because Pierce was driving away until it started raining, and then he almost slid up the track and hit the wall. He wasn't catching him if it don't rain. But I'm super, super excited to see how that all plays out. I hope you're all right. I mean, I want to see some locals up there. You talked about Dustin Sorensen. That new body on that car is sweet, and I know there's a story behind it, and I wish we could get him so we could talk a little bit about that too,
Yeah, we should definitely talk to him tomorrow. Another guy that had a rough go of it last night, Chris Madden, was supposed to start front row in a heat race, I believe. And I don't know if he have a motor issue as well. Yeah, so he scratched the whole night. I mean, he looked at it, no sense starting in the back. He's here for $100,000. He's a guy that didn't even race last night, but has performed very well at this event before. He could be a contender. Way too early to pick. We're going to do predictions for this race tomorrow. Right now, just based off what we saw last night, who would be your pick to win it tomorrow night?
Without question, it's Sheppy and nobody else.
I agree, B-Shep.
I got to go Blue 71. Just is what it is.
I'll go for that. My team.
He's on your team. I'm going to take Hudson O'Neill.
I'm going Turbo.
Right.
Just in talking to Turbo today, just that look of determination that's in his eyes, right? He mentioned it himself. He's settled down some. He's keeping himself grounded, but yet he can still turn the wick up and he can still get after it when he needs to. I mean, we saw him bang the cushion a little bit last night. I'm looking at Turbo. It's going to be really, it's going to be one of the two guys that was sitting here that are going to be parking it and collecting that big paycheck tomorrow night.
Let me ask you this question. Turbo's turned a corner. He's been an absolute contender most of the season. He's settled down. As a fan, I mean, I like that he's a contender. I don't know if I want him to settle down. I like the rough around the edges, seeing how it is.
You want
cowboy up,
unhinged
right?
Turbo.
I want fully unhinged Turbo, right? What do you guys think?
I like the new Turbo. I do, because the new Turbo provides better results, right? Now, the new Turbo is still the old Turbo off the track. Yeah, right? He's still the old Turbo off the track. He still has a big opinion and a loud voice, and he's, he'll say anything, and it's not always politically correct. But yeah, no, I like the new Turbo because he's actually, he's more consistent. He's not having tangle ups with Pierce every night, and I was going to bring that up, but I did. Oh God, we've already beat this to death, right?
He is the most colorful personality in dirt late model racing for sure. I hope he keeps that little chip on his shoulder because it's much needed. Bert, your thoughts?
Well, you mentioned the unhinged Turbo. I agree. He's not unhinged anymore, but he still speaks his mind. He'll let you know what he's really thinking, and that's one thing that I like. I've become a Turbo fan over the years, and we've talked about this on the show. When he does make a mistake or does something stupid, he turns lemons into lemonades, and he makes a T-shirt and makes some money off of it.
Yes, he does.
Looking at Turbos on Race Pass right now, 68 features, 5 wins, 32 top 5s. So half of the time that he is out there racing, he's in the top 5. You can't ask for really any more consistent results than that. You could ask for a few more wins, obviously, but to be there in the top 5, you're making money, your car's going back into the box in one piece, and I will push back that Turbo still is unhinged. He's just become more cerebral about it, and you have to pay attention in his interviews because he drops those little Easter egg nuggets and stuff like that too. But at the end of the day, he's focused. He's determined. Sheppy. I mean, you're sitting right next to him. That look in his eyes too says,
yes,
I am bolted, and we are ready.
There's no question. And Shep, very soft-spoken. Me and Bert couldn't even hear him down here. But what I did hear is absolute zero nerves, 100% confidence. You can tell he knows he's the car to beat.
Yeah, he is laser focused. But let me ask you this about Turbo, right? For the last few years, there's been a lot of, the Lucas Oil Series is a better series. Right now, I'm telling you, Sheppy's great, and he is obviously one of the top 3 in the country, but for the better part of the year, Pierce and Hoffman have been 1, 2. If those two, if Turbo was racing the Lucas Oil Series right now as good as he's been, would he be the point leader or contending for the point lead with Brandon Sheppard?
No. I mean, the Lucas Oil Series, there is so much of a points gap between positions, and the wins are so valuable the way their point structure is. I mean, nobody's had a consistent year. I mean, Moran's had his lumps. I mean, Putty's gone through them recently.
Ricky.
Shep started out. Ricky's whole season's been a slump. Quite honestly, he'd probably be 3rd, 4th.
I think he'd be second. Right now.
I'm thinking Turbo would be second, and Lucas. As top, second, third, he would need, like you pointed out, wins. Consistency matters in the world of Outlaws, especially with the points are concerned, because you can still be in 3rd or 4th. You can have a bunch of races left, and you can still catch up to and pass somebody in points. So on the Lucas side of things, wins matter, just how their points are structured and all that. He's top 3 for sure. I'm leaning more toward second right now in Lucas. But and again, going back to the Fun Tour 3.0, I think we're on now for the Fun Tour for Turbo. But there's always the 2.0. It was the 2.0, yeah. But so you touched on something that I think I want to bring up again: Lucas versus World of Outlaws. You're right. For years, Lucas Oil was the cream of the crop. That's where everybody wanted to be. That's where everybody wanted to win at. And the World of Outlaws was kind of subsequent. Still great quality of races, and it still is today, from the rate objectively looking at both sanctioning bodies. The quality of racing is still there. The talent, though, has definitely come over to the World of Outlaws side, and there is a ton of talent in that pit area right now. So who's going to win tomorrow? My pick, the fans. we are going to win tomorrow night. We are going to see a hell of a race.
100%. Any closing thoughts? I think we'll wrap this up. We're going to be back at you tomorrow night after the Fans Fun Luncheon. That's from noon to 1 or noon to 1:30. Then we're going to go live. We actually have, there's a little contest going on right now, right? We have the Eisenshank sisters versus the Gundaker brothers in the Fans Fun Dash. The worst average finish between the two got to go swimming in the pond. All right? We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but we're going to interview. We got both sets of them tomorrow after the Fans Fun, so we'll be back with you live tomorrow. Any closing thoughts before we let her go?
A couple things here. I did ask Turbo off the mic afterwards. I says, Turbo, when you win tomorrow, do you plan to go swimming? He goes, he pretty much confirmed to me that he's probably going swimming if he wins tomorrow, so that could be really interesting too. What kind of factor do you think all this rain today will play into the track conditions and maybe who wins the race tomorrow?
Well, I mean, it's stopped now, right?
Yeah,
the rain has
done
stopped,
now.
right? So they're just going to let it sit for a while. They'll get out, work the track. They'll farm it. I mean, they got all day tomorrow. It's going to be hot again for it to blow off. I don't think you're going to see much different. They had it sealed up Thursday night after the races, anticipating this rain. They didn't open it up. They didn't farm it. They just left it that way. That way, they didn't have to deal with a mess on Saturday.
You know, my guess is if we take a walk out by the track here at midnight tonight, they'll be working that thing half the night.
Right. I would think so.
Yeah, I don't think the rain's going to have a huge factor tomorrow because they'll have plenty of time to get it ready, and they always dump a lot of water on it anyway. So I think a bigger factor may be the fact that it's a one-day show now, so the drivers don't have as much time between the heat races and the feature. You know, they'd have, a complete day between. Right. Otherwise, where now, if you have a problem in your heat race, you got to hustle and get things fixed.
Right.
Take a look at the weather tomorrow. We're looking at a high 82, 83 degrees, sunny. I imagine there'll be a bit of a breeze, but that track is going to get beat on tomorrow night. So the question was, what is this rain going to do? I think it's going to be a hammered down racetrack. Obviously, the four of us know Cedar Lake pretty well. This track, when they do put water to it, it gets hammered down. But when the super late models are here, it's hammered down for a little while. It'll slick off. I think we're going to see multi-groove racing. They're going to have to farm it again tomorrow. They already have that scheduled in. So once they do farm it, I think for the Saturday portion tomorrow night, if based on what we saw last night, tomorrow's races, in both the CLS late models and the World of late models, we're in for a ride.
So food for thought, right? So if it's going to be hammered down, likely with the cushion, are we sleeping on BP32?
I don't know. I'm telling you what, I will be surprised. This material does not seem to roll into a cushion like Cedar Lake's past. So anticipating at a cushion like an Illinois bull ring, it's a different type of material. I just don't see that happening. And it is the Cedar Lake Speedway.
Yeah.
They've done this before.
Yeah,
I mean, this is one of the most phenomenal places in the country for racing. They anticipate this kind of stuff. They've dealt with rain at this event before. There's not going to be one issue with the racetrack.
Well, and if it's hammered down early on, it makes qualifying extra important because you don't want to start deep in your heat if it's a hammer down track.
And not only extra important, extra entertaining too, right? I mean, typically, I don't know about you guys, but when qualifying's on the track, I'm just getting there, right? Like, I can see what's happening on Race Pass, but Cedar Lake Speedway, hammer down, super late models out there. You guys are going to want to get there and get there early tomorrow, right, and to be able to see the qualifying. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Qualifying tomorrow is going to matter that much more, and I think that is where the rain today is going to see the most impact. So I'm looking at a guy like BP32 to qualify well. I'm looking at Turbo, bang the cushion again. Let's get that vintage Turbo back. I'm looking at Brandon Sheppard going, hey, you are one of the most diversified talents out there. Do you, dude. Get out there and do you. And I maintain I think I'm going to take my dark horse for tomorrow night in the CLS portion. I'm still going Arpin, going to the top 5. Right. I'm still going Arpin. He looked more and more confident. I mean, he did DNF last night, but he was looking more and more confident. Every corner, you could see just a little bit more confidence coming back to him.
Something I noticed, and Steve Arpin's driven race cars and trucks, and a multitude of things at a very high level in his career, you can notice, and we talk about this all the time, the difference between your local and regional driver and that of your professionals, right? Steve Arpin drives a car like a professional. He drives hard, and he drives that thing in like crazy. He drives like a professional. You could be onto something there, Ben.
One way or the other, he's going to be entertaining.
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Arpin is worth the price of the ticket all by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, let's wrap it up. I want to give a couple go ahead. Give one more thing?
One shout out and a thank you. QualityFreightRate.com.
Yep.
Okay, Matt Bull. The man is a superstar. Today he was running around like a headless chicken, getting all this stuff set up. So QualityFreightRate.com, promo code BUILT2 for 10% off your first shipment. They'll ship anything you need shipped. So QualityFreightRate.com. Thank you so much to Matt and his entire team from QFR, as well as Impact Health Sharing and everybody else.
MBTV, we'll mention them as well. Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating up in Ashland, number one sponsor of the long-standing Superstock series that's going to have to continue to go on. We'll have to have a talk with Dennis.
That has to continue.
It does. It does.
Has to continue.
East Central Sports,
Yep.
Brad Parsons Soil and Egg Solutions, Agara Cafe, all of our great sponsors that make this possible. As always, that's Ben, that's Ryan, Changa, and Bert. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.
Thank you.
Freight is the backbone of the country. And as long as people need goods, they're going to need somebody to get it to them. My name is Matt Bohl with QualityFreightRate.com, powered by T-Force Worldwide. We provide LTL, truckload, and expedited freight services across this country. If your freight weighs over 120 pounds going over 120 miles, that's where my shipping rates kick in. We help companies ship easier for less. With our system, our customers are able to quote and book shipments with ease 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're having trouble with damages, lost freight, claims of any sort, we can help you with our experience, solve the problem, tell you why it's happening and what you should do to prevent it in the future. Me and my team have been together for over 20 years. We know this industry. We can help all size business, big or small. We love them all, but we have a special spot for small business. Small businesses are pillars in the community. Low rates are critical for a small business because the margins are generally pretty small. They need to have competitive rates. They can't be getting gouged or they lose the sale. Freight is simple. People make it difficult. We work as consultants in the industry, so it doesn't matter what your problem is, we'll solve it. We educate the customers, we solve problems, and we lower their shipping rates. And that's what I've been doing for 20 plus years.